Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayesha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 4, The Atrocities of King Kamsa. Text number 8. Tam Grihitva Charanayor Tam Grihitva Charanayor Jata Matram Swasu Sutam Jata Matram Swasu Sutam Ot Apothayat Shila Prishthe Apothayat Shila Prishthe Swa Artha Unmulita Saurdaha Swarthonmulita Saurdaha Tam Grihitva Charanayor Jatamatram Swasusutam Apothayat Shila Prishthe Swarthonmulita Saurdaha. Tam Grihitva Charanayor Jatamatram Swasusutam Apothayat Shila Prishthe Swarthonmulita Saurdaha. Tam Grihitva Charanayor Jatamatram Swasusutam Apothayat Shila Prishthe Swarthonmulita Saurdaha. Tam Grihitva Charanayor Jatamatram Swasusutam Apothayat Shila Prishthe Swarthonmulita Saurdaha. Tam, the child, Grihitva, taking by force, Charanayo, by the two legs, Jatamatram, the newborn child, Swasuhu, of his sister, Sutam, the daughter, Apothayat, smashed, Shila Prishthe, on the surface of a stone, Swartha Unmulita, uprooted because of intense selfishness. Sauradaha, all friendship or family relationships. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Having uprooted all relationships with his sister because of intense selfishness, Kamsa was sitting on his knees, grasped the newborn child by the legs, and tried to dash her against the surface of a stone. Please repeat this translation after me. Very cruel translation, cruel behavior. Having uprooted all relationships with his sister because of intense selfishness, Kamsa was sitting on his knees, grasped the newborn child by the legs, and tried to dash her against the surface of a stone. Text number 9. I'll read by myself. Sa tat hastat samutpatya sadyo devi ambaram gata adrishyata anuja vishno sa ayudha ashtamaha bhuja. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The child Yogamaya Devi, the younger sister of Lord Vishnu, slipped upward from Kamsa's hands and appeared in the sky as Devi, the goddess Durga, with 8 arms, completely equipped with weapons. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Kamsa tried to dash the child downward against a piece of stone, but since she was Yogamaya, the younger sister of Lord Vishnu, she slipped upward and assumed the form of the goddess Durga. The word Anuja, meaning the younger sister, is significant. When Vishnu or Krishna took birth from Devaki, he must have simultaneously taken birth from Yashoda also. Otherwise, how could Yogamaya have been Anuja, the Lord's younger sister? Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Very graphic description of Kamsa's cruelty. Here, this 8th verse, Tam grihitva charanayor. Tam means that newborn baby is feminine, Tam. Grihitva, grasping, getting hold of it with his hand. Charanayor, and where could he grasp? It is just a small newborn child. Small, tiny baby, just born. Jatamatram, just born. When is this happening? Middle of the night, the child is born. The female child is born in Nanda Gokula, and Krishna is born in the prison in Mathura. So Vasudeva exchanged, and before daybreak, already the daughter of Yashoda has come to Mathura, and Krishna has gone to Nanda Gokula. Vasudeva did this exchanging. So the child is how many hours? Maximum 6 hours. 6-hour-old child just born. That child, this cruel fellow, Kamsa, he is holding that child. I mean, where can you hold the child? And that too, for what is he holding the child? The way a mother holds the child, or anybody with, compassion, care, not cruel-hearted, somebody who's soft-hearted. How will they hold the child? So carefully, so nicely they will hold the child. This fellow is holding the child like if you have to use, like they hold a hammer to bang it to break one stone, correct? So this stone-hearted fellow is banging a child to kill it against the stone. He's holding with the 2 legs. So the grip is very firm, and properly he will be able to. And he has done it 6 times earlier. He's become expert now in killing children. Year after year, Devaki is giving birth to children, and this cruel Kamsa is going on killing them, one after another, one after another, one after another, one after another. So he is grasping the child by the 2 tiny feet. How much it will be? It will be this much. And like this is grasping tightly. Jatamatram swasussutam. Just newborn child. And he knows it is Swasuhu, my own sister's daughter. I mean, previous verses, Devaki's reaction when Kamsa came to grab the child and kill it, like he had done earlier. So, Devaki, she is appealing to Kamsa that I am your younger sister. And all my children you have killed already, my sons, 6 sons. But this child, this daughter, why do you want to kill my daughter? Let her live. She is appealing to his good sense that I am your sister. Sister means there will be some affection, some consideration. So, on the other hand, Kamsa, because Devaki is devotee, divine nature. So, even though as a devotee she knows this Kamsa really is not my brother, it's simply some bodily relationship. But nevertheless, even though she knows it is not her real brother, Kamsa is not her real brother, still, just to save the child, she is appealing to his good sentiment that I am your sister, my daughter, please spare her life. She's just born. Let her live, because you already killed my 6 children. One child you just spare. And this Kamsa What is he doing with that sentiment that Devaki is my sister? It is described here. Swartha unmulita sauhridaha. All relationships, all sentiments between brother and sister, everything he is completely thrown away, unmulita, uprooted. There's no trace of any compassion or any good feeling towards Devaki. Swa artha unmulita. He's given up because of intense selfishness. This is called a demoniac nature. Asuri swabhava. Very clear. Asuri swabhava. And what did he do? Apothayat. He smashed the child. On what? Shila prushthe, on the surface of a stone. The child is just born. It is so very tiny and so very delicate. And that child, he's so cruel-hearted. Even killing such a child, so cruel way he's killing. It's not difficult to kill a newborn child. Just you do like this, finished. But then he's so very cruel that as if the child may not die if I don't ensure it dies by properly killing it. Just like when breaking a stone, they will not just take a hammer and do like this. No. Full force, they'll break it. Because it's not easy to break a stone. So he's so stone-hearted, so cruel he is, that such a small, delicate child, he wants to kill that, and that also by smashing it on a stone. There can't be a more cruel way of treating this child. He's so very cruel. All this is described to help us understand how cruel can he become. How cruel can he be, a demon? Even Hiranyakashipu, his 5-year-old son, small boy, very gentle behavior. He is somehow comes, of course, Hiranyakashipu would not understand that he's a devotee. But in any case, somehow he is chanting or calling out the name of Narayana, the Supreme Lord, Vishnu. He is so very angry that first he said, "Shut up, you rascal. You should not even utter the name of my enemy." So then Prahlad became silent, so as to not further anger him. Then afterwards he came to know, oh, he won't give up. In my absence, or not in front of me, but back in the Gurukul, he keeps keeping on chanting. And he's telling the other boys also, other children also of the demons, making them into devotees. So he's very, very dangerous. It's very dangerous. So he had so cruel. He ordered that he be killed. Restrain him, no, some other way. Small boy. What is he doing? He just speaking something about Vishnu, or he is chanting. He's not doing anything else. That boy, you just restrain him. If you don't want him to chant, if you don't want him to speak to others, you restrain him. No, but he's so cruel. He said, kill this boy. And those nonsensical demons, they are also not thinking that this small child, what is the fault? They could have told him, no, please don't kill this boy. We will somehow restrain him. No. Hiranyakashipu was so angry against him. Nobody could dare open their mouth. Those demons also, the other servants of Hiranyakashipu, they also, with folded hands, they're obeying his order. Kill this boy. Okay, sir. And they're also trying to kill. They're not able to kill the boy. Demons are actually dull-headed also. They're not very intelligent. They appear sometimes to be very intelligent. But actually, the real intelligence is lost. This is described in the Bhagavad Gita. What is that? Mayaya apahrita jnana. Their knowledge, their intelligence is completely lost because of the effect of the illusory energy. Even if they have knowledge, that knowledge is lost. Even if they have intelligence, they're not able to properly use their intelligence. So they tried killing that boy in so many ways, they could not kill. This Hiranyakashipu is so foolish. He didn't understand this boy cannot be killed. They tried every possible means of killing the boy. And not just one, so many of them ganged up to kill the boy. And still they could not kill. And Hiranyakashipu was saying, you cannot kill. You're not able to kill him. Let me kill him. I am more powerful than anyone else. And he had got that power by doing so much tapasya. So he said, I'll kill this boy. So the fact is that because of intense selfishness, the demons don't have any real feelings for anyone. Externally, sometimes they show some compassion or some kindness. It comes up. Or even Hiranyakashipu. First time when Prahlad was brought in front of Hiranyakashipu, after he had been sent to Gurukul for getting some training. So he came. When the boy paid obeisances, oh, so nice, my son is. So nicely he's trained. He's paying obeisances to me. Oh, come here, come here. He called him near, embraced him, and nicely smelled his head. My dear child, what have you learnt? And Prahlad, he told what he had learnt in his mother's womb, not what he is being taught by the Gurukul teachers. So he had learnt about bhakti from Narad Muni. So he told something about bhakti, about Vishnu, Narayana. So he became angry. You rascal! The same child, small boy, so nicely is embracing. What happened when he heard Vishnu's name? Demon. Intensely selfish. So all that nice feeling towards his son, a small boy, just come after a few months of some training in the Gurukul. he is immediately throwing away the boy from his lap. Swartha unmulita sauradaha. All good feelings, nice qualities, uh, good sentiments because of affection due to some relationship, own sister, own son, own sister's daughter, all that thrown to the winds completely. I don't care whether you are my sister or sister's daughter or my son. If you are against my sense gratification, I'm not going to tolerate that. I'll do anything. So ultimately, demoniac nature means I and mine, ahankara. That's why if you see, the first thing when Krishna describes the demoniac qualities, ahankaram balam darpam. In the beginning of the 16th chapter, 16th chapter is about divine and demoniac natures. Okay. So the first 3 verses, Krishna describes the divine qualities of those of divine nature. What are their qualities? The divine qualities, 26 divine qualities he describes and just mentions them. But the demoniac qualities he begins to describe from the 4th verse onwards. 4th verse, first thing, no, that's not the first thing. What is that? Okay. The first thing he says about the demoniac qualities, dambha, darpa, abhimana, krodha, parushya. See, this dambha is pride, darpa is arrogance, abhimana is conceit. All these pertain to the false ego. All these pertain to the false ego. Where is pride? It's in the false ego. Where is arrogance? It's in the false ego. Where is conceit? Abhimana. It's in the false ego. Krodha. That's due to false ego being hurt. Parushyam, harshness, cruel behavior. It is coming from the false ego. So this elsewhere, of course, Krishna says about the bad qualities or the demoniac qualities. Ahankaram balam darpam. Ahankara. So this ahankara, which is the root cause of our material existence, because of this bodily concept. Bodily concept means aham mameti. Aham mama. I am this body and everything in connection with body is mine. And this mine is not out of a sense of some kind of good feeling or some affection, real affection. It is out of the desire to lord over everything and everyone. Lording tendency. That also is described in the 16th chapter, demoniac nature. Ishwaroham aham bhogi siddhoham balavan sukhi. Ishwaro means I am the Lord, I am the master, I am the controller. Not just a controller or a Lord or a master. I am the supreme, the greatest. Ishwaroham. Ishwara in the sense of one sense the word Ishvara is controller, but Ishvara also is in the sense of supreme controller, the greatest controller. And master, I am the master. Ishwaroham, aham bhogi, I am the enjoyer. Siddhoham, I am perfect in all respects. Balavan, I am the strongest. All these are traits of what? Ultimately, the false ego. Ahankara. So, this ahankara is due to our desire to enjoy materially, our desire for independent enjoyment, our desire to be the Lord out of enviousness of Krishna, who is the real Lord. We want to take Krishna's position. We want to compete with Krishna. We want to become the Lord, not Krishna. Krishna should not be the Lord. I want to be the Lord. Why Krishna should be the Lord? So, this ahankara is a characteristic of material existence, is what affects or influences our consciousness when we desire to enjoy materially, desire independent enjoyment, desire to be the Lord, desire to compete with Krishna. Then immediately we are placed in this material world, a material nature. The beginning of material existence is this contamination of consciousness by false ego, ahankara. When we are given this body, the body is given in stages. So the first thing that is given to us, because as spirit soul, we have our spiritual body, spiritual form, we have our spiritual senses, we have a spiritual existence in the spiritual world with Krishna, nice loving relationship, everything perfect. But then if we desire opposite of spiritual existence, the material, then we are placed in this material world, and in our spiritual body, spiritual relationship or spiritual form, we cannot work in this material world. We cannot act in this material world. We cannot have material qualities. Spirit cannot have material qualities. So, some material elements are infused. Cannot be infused because spirit does not mix with matter. So, it is covered. Our spiritual qualities, our spiritual form, our spiritual senses are covered. So, what is the first layer of covering? Ahankara, false ego. It's the most subtle covering. Ahankara. Ahankara is part of the subtle body. It's a subtle element. In the 8 elements of matter, Krishna describes 7th chapter. Bhumi rapo nalo vayu kham mano buddhir evacha ahankara iti yamme. From Bhumi, earth, up to Ahankara, 8 elements. Bhumi is the grossest and Ahankara is the most subtle. But still, the 5 gross elements are earth, water, fire, air, and sky. These 5 are perceived by our external 5 senses. But the subtle elements, mind, intelligence, and false ego, manas, buddhi, ahankara, they are not to be perceived by these 5 senses. They are not perceived by these 5 senses. So they are called subtle. Sukshma indriya. But even among Sukshma indriya, mind, intelligence, and false ego, each one is more subtle than the previous one. Mind, at least, you can perceive using your intelligence. Using your intelligence, you can understand. You have something called the mind. that there is something called the mind, which is not perceivable by these five senses. Everybody can understand using their intelligence. Then, using intelligence itself, can understand something called intelligence exists apart from the senses and the mind. And above all, above these two, mind and intelligence, there is the ahankara, the false ego. Even though we cannot separate out mind from the intelligence from the false ego, we can understand using our intelligence that there is something called a subtle element or subtle body made of mind, intelligence, and false ego. So this false ego is the most subtle, and that false ego actually is expressed. False ego we use for expressing our anger, our pride. These are all within the subtle body, these qualities. Whereas the qualities of this body, gross body, they are easily perceivable. Just like somebody's complexion of the body, fair-skinned or dark-skinned, dark complexion, fair complexion, kind of eyes we have, kind of hands we have, kind of strength we have, physical strength. All this is grossly perceivable using our senses. But this subtle thing, supposing a person is angry, unless the anger is expressed externally, we cannot make out the person is angry. Simply by looking at the external appearance of the person, you cannot make out. So, anger is actually in the false ego. Cruelty is in the false ego. Pride is in the false ego. Arrogance is in the false ego. So these are all characteristics of the false ego. Characteristics of false ego. So the false ego is a very dangerous element that we falsely identify ourselves as the false ego. False ego is an element, and it has got these characteristics of anger, pride, arrogance, cruelty, all these. What is that? Dambha, Darpa, Abhimana, Parushyam, harshness, ignorance, Ajnanam. When we have intelligence, how can there be ignorance? Intelligence is associated with knowledge. So how can there be knowledge and ignorance both in a person? Only in this world we see. Person is having ignorance as well as knowledge. That means he's having not complete knowledge but partial knowledge. So this ignorance is possible only because of ahankara. Otherwise, the nature of the soul is Sat Chit Ananda. Chit means full of knowledge. Knowledge is a characteristic of originally the soul. So, ignorance is the characteristic of matter. And which element of matter? We have 8 elements of which this gross and subtle body is made of. So, the ahankara, that element called ahankara, which we have got, which is covering us, the spirit soul, the real self. That ahankara has got this characteristic or quality of ignorance. Ahankara. Ajnanam. So all these 5 mentioned here, 6 qualities. Arrogance, pride, anger, conceit, harshness, ignorance, all belong to the element called false ego. So you try to understand. False ego is difficult to understand. What is false ego? False ego is that false sense of identity. Ego means identity. Who am I? So how can I think I am this body which has qualities totally opposite to my own self? Huh? All the qualities of matter are opposite of the qualities of spirit. So how can I, the real spirit soul, the real self, think or consider even or assume or get cheated by Maya into believing I am this body, I belong to this material world? How is it possible? Because of the false ego. And that false ego is what is also described as the link between the body and the soul, between matter and spirit. See, matter and spirit don't mix. So spirit is separate from matter. Just like oil and water. Let's say you have little oil in a glass. You pour some water into it. Normally you'll not do it. The other way around. You have some water in the glass. Accidentally, thinking oil is water, you pour that oil into the glass to fill the glass with water. Suddenly you see, oh, this is not water, it's oil. Why? It's not mixing. Then even if you take some lid close and then try to mix it, can you mix? If you have some water and you squeeze some lemon juice, you shake it, easily it can mix. Correct? But you take whatever you do in terms of mixing, even if we heat it, still it will not mix. Oil and water will not mix. Similarly, whatever we may do, whatever way we try, that false ego will not actually become. We don't become the false ego. The false ego remains as false ego, as an element. It will never mix with the soul. So therefore, it is called false ego. Ahankara means the sense of identity. But in English, Prabhupada very nicely translates not just as ego, sense of identity is ego. Ahankara, aham. Who am I? I am something. Okay, that something we wrongly identify as body or mind or some material intelligence, material identity like that. So that is made possible by this false ego. So that ahankara is what establishes a kind of connection between this body, the gross and subtle body, and the spirit soul. So ahankara is also called the junction point between matter and spirit. Junction point. So ahankara is not really the self. Ahankara is not even, in that sense, the body, but it is a sense of identity which is due to the bewilderment of our consciousness. It is bewilderment, sammudha. Krodhat bhavati sammohaha. Sammohaha. In the second chapter, Krishna describes what is that verse? That it begins with attachment for sense objects. What is it? Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu pajayate. By meditating, by contemplating on sense objects, one develops attachment. Sangha. Sangasteshu pujayate. Sangat sanjayate kamaha. Attachment leads to lust. And lust leads to anger. Kamat krodho vijayate. Krodhat bhavati sammoha. Sammoha means one is completely bewildered. Bewildered means the consciousness becomes affected. Using our original consciousness, pure consciousness, we can understand what is matter, what is spirit, who am I, who is Krishna, what is this world, everything we can clearly know, we can understand, we can distinguish, we will not mistake one for the other. But moment the consciousness is affected by this false ego, immediately we misidentify. I belong to this world. I am this body. All mistakes, all wrong identification, all wrong things, wrong qualities, bad qualities. The beginning of bad quality is this misidentification of the body, ahankara. And ahankara means the element ahankara is full of all bad qualities. Nothing about ahankara is good. So out of false ego, somebody displays, like Kamsa displays some compassion towards Vasudeva. Vasudeva took his first child, newborn child. Out of some false sentiment, we say false sentiment, he pardoned. He said, Vasudeva, I don't want to kill this child. I have no danger from this child. You take back the child. So some compassion he showed, it is actually coming from the false ego. It is coming from the false ego. So therefore, it is not real compassion. And it is very evident it is false compassion because immediately after that, when he consulted his ministers told, why did you spare the child? It could be, the danger could not be, not necessarily from the eighth child, could be from the first child also. Don't spare that child. Danger could be from any child. If you want to save your life, kill that child. Don't spare its life. So then what happened to compassion? Completely evaporated into thin air. It's gone. Immediately it is gone. So that is called false compassion because it's coming out of false ego, ahankara. Similarly, when we are practicing bhakti, in the beginning stages, when we are not really practiced much, but something in the false ego, some sentiment, false sentiment, I feel I like chanting very much. You start chanting, somebody tells you to start chanting and you start chanting. And you feel very nice after chanting. You think, oh, chanting is so nice. Because you're feeling nice about it. You're feeling nice about it. So then you keep on chanting. And you think, oh, I'm advancing very, very fast. I like chanting very much. I never want to stop chanting. It's so nice. But that is only as long as your sense gratification is nicely going on along with your practice of bhakti. Moment your sense gratification is affected, then all this nice feeling towards chanting, bhakti itself, or chanting itself, everything is completely lost. Everything is lost. So, therefore, in the beginning stages, whatever sentiments we have, whatever nice feeling we have, whatever we think in terms of bhakti, that is not the true appreciation of bhakti from the level of the soul, from your actual self, real self. That takes time. That takes time. It requires some tapasya. It requires some serious practice. It requires some austerity, some detachment, some purification. That is required. So that you will understand a little later. If you keep on practicing, associating with devotees. Don't give up. Even if you have difficulty or you have some practical problem, I don't have time, I don't have interest, or I don't like it anymore. I used to like it, but now I don't like it. So, in any case, in association of devotees, if we continue, then by continuously chanting, in spite of not liking, in spite of not having that real interest or seriousness or liking or whatever, then you stick on, and by actually chanting for some length of time, purification actually happens inside. And when purification happens, then you actually make advancement. Then in spite of difficulties, you're able to continue chanting. You'll not give up chanting. You'll not give up the association of devotees. So then you start making actual advancement. But even that advancement takes time. Complete purification won't happen so quickly, because the contamination is over millions of lifetimes. And the main contamination is not the gross contamination in terms of this body, but it is the subtle contamination in terms of mind, intelligence, and false ego. We have developed a wrong mentality. We have developed a wrong, we acquired wrong knowledge. Wrong intelligence is wrong knowledge. Misconceptions, these are all called misconceptions. And even the ego, the real ego is covered by this false ego, and the false ego keeps on growing. We accumulate, beginning with the first misconception that I am this body, so many other misconceptions develop in terms of what is mine. If somebody says, I am this, thinks I am this body, then everything in relationship with the body is mine. Even though there is no real relationship, no real identity, no real possession, but falsely, wrongly, out of some misconception, we think, I belong to this world, such and such a person is my father, somebody else is my mother. That is based on the body again, totally based on the body. So that first mistake of I am this body due to ahankara leads to so many more mistakes, so many more false understandings, so many more misconceptions, so many more plans for enjoying in this world. None of the plans are meant for real enjoyment, are going to give you real pleasure. But then you, with a misconception, under illusion, falsely thinking I am this body, falsely thinking I belong to this world, falsely thinking that I am becoming more and more intelligent, more knowledge. So these are all explained in the Bhagavad Gita, in the scriptures. So this false ego, these demons, they completely are acting on the false ego. Devotees, when they begin to practice bhakti, last point, end here. The last point is that devotees, when they begin to practice bhakti, first thing that happens is this misconception in terms of the false ego is corrected. And then slowly, one by one, the misconceptions are all getting cleared away. And then the real knowledge begins to develop. You start getting real knowledge from the authentic scriptures. You understand I am not the body. You understand I belong to Krishna. You understand Krishna is my real well-wisher. So all these things, the understanding, the real knowledge, real understanding, correct conception of who I am spirit, soul, I am not this body, all that will happen as you start getting cleansed within, inside. Cleansing has to happen inside. Cleansing of the consciousness, clearing of the consciousness. So, the clearing of the consciousness is possible only by Cheto Darpana Marjan, by chanting Hare Krishna and by the practice of bhakti. I'll stop here. Vantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.